Good morning, everyone. My name is Victor Catano, also known as Sir Persevere, and I am your guide master for today in our Stillness and Wellness Club. I want to jump right in today, and I want to take us to an exercise of stillness, and I want to make sure that our energy is right as we start to harness today what it means to scale, but to scale with purpose. So let's set the tone for the room right away, and let's do a breathing exercises. We're going to do two things. We're going to breathe, and we're also going to do my favorite thing. When we stand in stillness, let's visualize, something that is just making us focus just on that stillness, right? And for me, it's always walking into a stable with an untamed horse and walking in, calmly settling that horse down and just petting it and petting it and petting it right before I walk out of that stable and ride that horse into my day. So we're going to breathe and we're going to settle the horse down. And, for those that might go over the head a little bit, we're just simply going to exit a world that has a lot of calamity, right? And we're going to walk into our sacred space of stillness and quiet, and we're going to get calm, and we're going to slow down, and we're going to let the factors of God just start working through us to prepare us for whatever it is that stands before us today. So let's start now. Take one deep breath. That's like walking into the stable, right? And that horse is unsettled. You walk in, it's not wild, it's not crazy, but it's not settled. Maybe it grunts a little bit when it sees you. It could be a grunt of frustration, a grunt of, needing something, it's hungry, right? But, that horse needs you right now. You gently walk over and you start to settle the horse down. Sometimes to shift from calamity to quiet, there needs to be a little bit of forcefulness, not cruel forcefulness, but gentle forcefulness. You're leading, you're starting to take the reins, and you gently grab that horse, and now the horse knows that you are about to take control of it, and it starts to gently calm down. This is an opportunity for a good, deep breath. The horse is starting to succumb to your authority because you control stillness. The very same stillness that you want to be in is the one that you have to create. You have to own and capture that space just the same way that when you're going to bed, you have to make that bed and prepare it for sleep because it's not a comfortable experience to sleep on a lumpy bed with blankets and pillows under you, right? You make everything nice and comfortable for yourself. And you're doing the same thing with this horse. Nice and comfortable. The horse is starting to settle. Remember that when you breathe in, right, when you're breathing out, pretend that you're slowly painting a window and that your breath is going all over that window. So I want you to do that now. Take a deep breath and paint the window. I want you to do that again, right? And as you're doing that, remember it. Paint that window. Paint it a color, right? But paint it. Don't miss any spot on that window. Let's take that breath again. It's okay. It's okay to take that breath and to shake your head gently to make sure you don't miss any spots in the window. But just don't be extraneous with your head movements, right? Let's paint the window one more time. And now let's continue to focus on the horse. Gently put your hand on the top of the horse's mane, like just above the nose, just above the eyes, in between the ears, and start to fluff that mane like you're fluffing it up, like you're detangling the knots that that horse has because it has a lot of knots in its hair. Gently run your fingers through that horse. Maybe you want to put your nose against the horse's cheek to let it know that you love it because you are that horse, that you love that horse, right? Maybe you want to snuggle gently with your nose, but don't stop petting the mane. Continue to go through. Detangle anywhere that you see knots, anywhere you feel knots. Run your fingers through and detangle the knots from that horse's mane. Gently put your fingers through. You're not thinking about anything. You're only thinking about being one with that horse, taking control of that horse's spirit through your love, your firmness, and your actions of kindness. You're detangling that hair. Keep detangling the horse's hair. Now you are close to the horse and you are continuing to go down. Now you're at the top of the horse's head and you're just continuing to detangle, but not always detangling. Sometimes you're just running your fingers through the soft, fuzzy, warm hair and you're just caressing the horse. That's all you're doing. You're caressing the horse. Now you start to feel that that horse is in a complete state of being tame. And you start feeling that horse's love protruding you too. And you are slowly becoming one. Love is flowing in both directions. The horse's love is coming at you, and your love is coming right back towards that horse. And you are feeling the perfect synergy. Keep running your fingers through that mane. Now you're gently going down that horse's long neck. Sometimes you're finding knots, gently detangling them, and other times you're just gently running your fingers through the horse's mane. You love that horse. And with every stroke of the hair, you love that horse even more. Now you are completely one with this horse. You're almost at the saddle part because you've gone completely down the horse's neck. And now you gently pat the horse's back, the sitting area, and you're preparing to mount this horse because you've settled it, you've grounded it, you've given it your love, it has given you its love, and you're ready to go right into your day. So now, as you start to become present and you start to come back into the room, visualize that you are getting on this horse, and that horse ride is starting from a place of perfect peace. Perfect peace. You can do all things today. You can handle all things today. There's nothing on that course when you're running your race today. There's nothing that you can't do. You can go as fast as you want. You can go as slow as you want, but you're going to do whatever you do with purpose and remembering your stillness every single time something is not going exactly the way you want it to. Go ride your horse and now be present in the room. One last deep breath now. Good morning again, everyone. Can we have a brief check-in of how we're feeling? How's everyone feeling today?
Feeling good?
Good, good.
Awesome.
And you should, because that's the whole purpose of stillness, right? To bring you to your best self. So now that we've gone through stillness, we're going to go into our second path. We're going to go into the scaling dreamer path. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what scaling means to me. Everyone knows that scaling means, you know, to grow and to multiply, not just grow, right? And I'm going to add a layer of growth, and I'm going to say scaling with purpose, right? Last night, I had a great heart to heart with my family about what it means to scale. And I feel that I really raised the floor on my family. I talked about each one of their strengths and their qualities. And I talked about my own purpose and how I want to see us scale as a family. And we talked about the humility that is required, right, when you are scaling with purpose, right? Because earlier today in our prayer group, we talked about how God opens doors, right? But He doesn't just open doors for us to walk through them and go in and collect a blessing, right? Just imagine somebody invited you to their house to give you a gift, and you came from a long way to get that gift, right? And you walk into the door, you say hello to them, you greet them, but you walk in, you collect your gift, and you walk out. Right. And you don't say anything to them on the way out. Right. You know, um, when we get a blessing and we get an opportunity to scale, we are to scale, we are to walk through, we are to collect the blessing, but there's a condition for receiving that blessing, right? There's a condition, and that condition is that we have to have humility in all that we're doing. We need to understand the purpose of why we're doing it. And sometimes we think that we understand why, um, y- you know, we understand when there are people who have a lot, right? We think of people like Bill Gates, as one of the richest people that I knew when I was growing up, right? Um, you know, Sometimes we have assumptions about, you know, where we think God is in their life, because people don't always preach the word of God, right? I learned a couple of days ago that 70% of the people in my town are Christian and that they are filled with faith and they have Bible studies in their house. Half the time I walk up to somebody, if you know me well, you know that I say, blessed day, good morning, peace be with you. I say things, how are you? Let the Lord fill this space. And half the time, I don't get a peep back from these people. And I don't know if it's because I don't know if it's because they're shy or they don't understand where I'm coming from. But to me, the things of God are very clear. And when someone says, have a blessed day, right? You know, you as well is the thing that I expect to hear back, right? Um, so it's It's we have these gifts. God, gives us all these wonderful things, right? But what are we gonna do with those things? What are we gonna do when we scale our club to $1 million? Do we stop there? We always talk about me. I'm always talking about us being on that yacht and smoking a cigar. Is that where it stops? Is it about the cigar, or is it about being blessed to do something that's truly outstanding? I love when Dr. Pina says that we are creating the ultimate tool and gift for humanity, right? And to me, that is a great purpose to scale, right? So as we continue to scale as a group, right, we're all scaling for different things. When we're in this club, right, we're scaling for one purpose, but we all have different areas of our life that we, are trying to scale. And the thing that I want to share with you today is that sometimes when Greg or Marcin, or any of us, right? Because no one here is holier than thou, right? But whenever we are inviting the presence of God into whatever we're doing, right? It says that where two or more are gathered, that it is a church, right? It doesn't have to be a place with a big fancy building. It doesn't have to be a place where you hear priests and nuns singing, right? It just needs to be a space where God is invited and he is welcome to be there, right? And I welcome God and I invite him into everything that we do because, y- you know, I don't see, I, I can see anyone scaling, right? But I don't want to scale just to scale. I don't want to grow just to get to that point, right? Because that's not sustainable, right? There is a character that is required of all of us, right? Once we achieve our goals, we have to be able to sustain them. And I think of myself of how hard it is to come back to where I was last year after I ran that half marathon. It has been so hard to be able to think about running 10, even 10 miles again, right? And it's because, I was so focused on just running the marathon, running the marathon, running the marathon, right? And when that wasn't possible for reasons, not that I couldn't or wouldn't, but when it just became not possible, I couldn't sustain it. I couldn't sustain it. And I slid really far down that mountain, right? And so remember, as we scale, what, not just what the top looks like, but what does beyond that look like, right? We are going to, so we're scaling with purpose and we are scaling with sustainability. Anyone have any thoughts they would like to share about that?
Morning, Brother Vic. I just want to share that having a plan dictates what's expected. So I received that and thank you so much.
Anyone else? Thank you, Greg.
And it's a decision that you make. You have to make a decisions to, have a specific goal that is so immense as yourself and your family, so immense of the dreams and desire that you have. And with Dr. Hardy, we learned that you have to have your moonshot. We know what it means to have a Mars shot, like Elon Musk and what he became and who he is. Because that's the way you just grow beyond where you are. And it's, I think, one of the most important experience of Benjamin Hardy, Dr. Hardy. It's about dream big, and then put the psychology, the science of psychology, and strategy behind, you know, especially that you don't do the noise when you are below your floor, and what happens when you focus in one thing only that you're good at, and you're gonna be and bring the best to do the best for humanity. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we want you, whatever you are, to do too. Dream big, bring it to life, give it to humanity, be persistent, do it every day, go on, do it with convictions, do it with faith and hope, and continue doing it. That's what matters.
Yes, so I think we are all in alignment, unless anyone else has something that they want to say, Rosalda, Marta, Lawrence.
Well, Victor, everything has been said. We all have dreams, big, small, medium. All we have to do is bring it alive, think about it, set some measurement goals, some observable goals, and work in it, and we'll see it come through alive. Dreams come alive. They have life, and we can make it come through alive.
Lawrence,
Thank you, Victor. Um,
sorry, Golden Boy.
Lawrence is fine. Um, you have to have that vision. Um, I think that's
Right.
I think that's great. You sat down with your family and described yesterday or the other whenever it was about you know what you see and where you envision them going. So um, that took a lot to do that. So we all have to do more of that. So thank you for that leadership.
Thank you,
Thank
Lawrence.
you, Victor, and
Oh, thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
You really also do your work and your transformation and your CCP. Thank you and God bless you. You may God bless you
Thank you,
because
Lawrence.
you deserve it. You show out and you growing and the best human being you are. Thank you,
Thank you.
Victor, and God bless you. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you. I received that. And guess what? Now that I've had a moment with my family at home, I'm going to have a moment with my family here now, right? So we talked about scaling and we talked about scaling with purpose, but now we're going to talk about a circuit, right? When you think of how you get lights in your house, right? There's a circuit that allows that to happen, right? It's a connectivity. It's a bunch of different points in your house where if that point is broken or doesn't work, right, the lights go out in the entire house, right? And that circuit continues all the way out to that light pole or wherever the main generator is in that area where your house is, right? And in order for the light to be continuous, the circuit needs to be able to be sustained. Every point is responsible for receiving energy, transferring energy, receiving energy, transferring energy, right? And it's the same thing when you have prayer, right? This is the reason why people say, stand with me in agreement for prayer, right? And they hold hands, right? Because, we want the flow of blessings to come through each and every person. But it takes one person there to not have the right faith, to not have the right energy, right, to break that circuit and turning the lights off for everyone, right? And Dr. Hardy says it takes having the right people with you, and it takes, and sometimes you have to get people that shouldn't be there. You have to take them off, right? I call that in a more in a way that's more relatable to my faith. I call that about making sure that everyone has the right heart, the right spirit, and the right purpose, right? And as we band together to scale in unity as a group, right, we all need to keep constantly doing the best in our own lives, right? We need to make sure that we're scaling in the things that are outside of what we're collectively scaling for, right? Because here's the thing, right? I think of a pretty hard moment for me a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about, whether or not it would be the right, we were the right team to scale this thing forward. And at that very moment in time, if I would have been asked to send one invoice, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I was working on 5 job applications. I had to prepare a lineup for Little League. I was on my way to church. I had all these things going on. I didn't know how I was going to pay 3 particular bills. I, I was just all over the place. And I was coming here presenting as calm and collected because this is where my peace is grounded every day, right? But I wasn't necessarily right. And at any moment in time, I could have personally, with all my energy and enthusiasm, I could have been the one area of the circuit that blew it for the rest of us, right? And so I say that to you from a personal stance so that you know that if we're going to scale in unity, we all have to scale personally in our own areas, right? So that we are then able to bring that good energy and productivity that we're all capable of bringing to this group. All right. So that's enough with the scaling and dreaming with purpose. Um, y- you know, um, I think we covered scaling and creating together there, right? Because you can't create if you don't have, a good imagination and you don't have the capacity to create. And I'll end that by saying that you can create a lot of things. The example that I gave to my family yesterday was, you know, what good is it to create a beautiful house that is resting on a plastic bar, right? The house will collapse because the foundation isn't strong enough. So let's make sure that we all have a strong foundation that can sustain this wonderful house that we're building. So let's head into the athletic path now. It's time for us to, as Dr. Pina says, mover la colita. And I'm going to invite you to join me at the Catano Island. For those who are listening or watching somewhere else, the Catano Island is simply the island in my kitchen, and I love to circumnavigate it. How about that for a big word today? So we use the Strava app for that, to track what we're doing. This is our Strava has been our choice for accountability, and I'm going to set mine right now. Some of you can start warming up, stretching, doing whatever you got to do for a little bit of activity. My Strava is set, and I'm going to start by putting my foot out, and I'm going to start by kicking the bucket the way we always do. Let's kick that bucket 5 times. We're going to do a power warm up today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ready? Other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gently put your foot out like it's going to be make your leg stiff, like it's a pendulum. Let's just bring it back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Other foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Arms out, because running is not just an exercise of the legs. It is your you're getting your whole body ready to run, and you're also getting your breath. So let's put arms out, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Now let's go. Big flap. Wings. 1, 2, circles, big circle. 3, 4, 5. Out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to go and we're going to run. Now remember that when you're running or walking, we're going to run and walk, run and walk. I'm going to start by running and ask you to do the same. remember to keep your breath, right? I like to breathe going, right? And it just always helps me keep my breath regulated so that I don't get to a point where I'm panting. So don't pant when you run, right? Regulate your breath and let's go. Let's go get it. Run. Where are you guys doing your running today? Dr. Pina, where are you in beautiful Orlando?
I'm outside in Orlando, Kissimmee. I'm outside, beautiful, warm weather. Just going around, just Jeff Galloway style. My beautiful neighborhood. Nobody's outside, but it's warm. Couple of lights, couple of people going to work, as always. It's an amazing experience. And I think this is the security guy coming through. So it's a great experience. So just running.
So, Dr. Pina, awesome. And thank you for being an inspiration to us. Thank you for, introducing this Galloway method to us. Thank you for just for creating the space for us to develop the capacity to do what we're all doing now. Losada, what are you up to?
I am in a special area of my home, my office. I'm
Woo!
walking in space. I don't need no equipment. All I need is my mind, my body, and my water. And I am hitting it.
And
Different paces, walking in space.
awesome. And a lot of us know the journey that you've undergone, right? And we know that we don't take even walking for granted, right? We don't take that for granted, right? Walking is a privilege and we honor it by doing it, right?
Right, right.
Martita, where are you?
Uh, I am here in my beautiful apartment. My arm and walking and running.
You
Yes.
know what? I am
That,
going to take that moment to do a quick salsita in your name.
that,
Woo, woo. In the name of Rosada, a little bachatita.
I
Doom,
have it in
doom,
my
doom,
mind, Victor,
doom,
in
doom.
my mind.
Yeah.
I'm walking and singing it mentally.
Or happy day, or happy day, or happy day. What are you up to, Brother Greg?
I'm in my office, walking in space, and believing that greatness is just around the corner. Receiving it, blessing each and every one of you. That greatness is just around the corner. Blessings, brother.
Amen, amen. I'm looking over at the golden boy. I see that he's above water and he's not plunging at the moment. What are you up to, brother?
No plunging. I'm walking in my apartment, looking out at the Empire State Building, seeing the sun coming up.
Oh,
Oh,
the Empire State Building. Whoa,
whoa.
what a neighborhood.
You know,
Beautiful view.
that's a
Yeah.
beautiful view. They don't have that in Florida, do they?
No, they don't.
Okay, okay.
But you got a
Boom,
beach in Florida. I don't have that. So
boom, boom, boom. Okay.
You know what else Florida doesn't have? They
the
don't have the
Knicks,
parade that we're going to
the
have on
Knicks,
Thursday,
exactly.
brother. Woo!
Go Nick.
But you know what?
Go
Florida does
Knicks.
have. Florida has a lot of love. It has incredible people like our own Dr. Pina and Dr. Z and our beautiful Stevie. You know, we have camaraderie, but in the end, we all have love and passion for each other. All right, so that's been a good run. If you want to, I'm going to keep running. But if you want to take this moment right now to just kind of stop and slow down, do so. But I'm going to keep going. I'm going to take one lap around the island.
Today also is a special day because it's the second day of fasting. So I'm going hard on the second day. We're using the protocol of Jason Ford. Nothing, no meat, no sugar, no rice, no carb, no bread, just really tea and coffee in my case. I'm not using the mimicking fasting because when you do the mimicking fasting, you don't fast enough, you don't lose weight enough, and you don't feel it in your body. So I'm going in ketosis, autophagia right now. So 9 of us are actively fasting. This is the second cycle. Summer we start in the winter, and the last one, 3 of this year, is gonna be in October. Usually we do it in the beautiful Madrid, in the week of the most amazing restaurant in Lavapié. So with the second 5 day mimicking fasting, we follow the research program of Dr. Longo, 5 days mimicking fasting. Easier, you can set and do a psychological bariatric to your body. And through the year, you're gonna earn and lose within your weight 5 to 10 pounds. And you keep it, not taking your weight to the next year, but just keeping yourself healthy. You can eat all the food of the whole world, and the amount never go beyond to be storage in your body. So it's amazing. We started doing it since 2018, I believe. And now we used to do once, twice, 3 times, 5 cycle of 5 mimicking fasting. Now we do 3 since last year. So Dr. Bongo said that, 3 will be good enough. It's a hard thing to do. Yesterday I was hallucinating and remember food, and my wife, she's doing it, and Camilo, she's preparing this amazing, beautiful, smelling food that we know that we couldn't eat. So this is by day 2. We finished Friday. We start on the last dinner of Sunday. So I have 24 hours yet last night. Now I'm going for 9 a.m. more than 40 to 30 plus hours of fasting. So I'm feeling really amazing. I'm just running. And also I run better. We have run 5K, 10K, half marathon, just fasting. Nothing but just a lot of water, tea, green tea. Cold broth, you can do it. Hello, Dr. T, bye-bye. It's government his baby, for sure. Anyway, so remember that we do 3 times a year, 5 days mimicking fasting or fasting. We were discussing with Victor the Daniel fasting, 21 days, the Ramadan fasting in 1 month, the Jesus Christ, the biggest 40 days, 49. So get clear, get better, live longer, stay there, build, and be more creative. Stay persevere.
Thank you for that. And I just remember that when we think about scaling, right, we always think about, growth and multiplying, right? Well, one of the things that we can do is multiply in our area of discipline, right? It takes tremendous discipline and strength, right, to be able to fast and to be able to tell your body that you control what it eats, that you tell it what it's going to have, that you tell it when it's going to have what you're going to have it have, right? Um, there's a lot of power in being able to do that, right? And that's an area when we think about how we need to scale personally, scaling in the power to have discipline of your body, right? That's a tremendous way to scale, right? And one of the ways that you can continue to be a circuit for this unit, right, is by living longer and being with us in a very fundamental way, right? living longer, right? Keeps you around, and we get to enjoy your beautiful talents and strengths longer, right? So let's scale in that area and let's continue to do our athletic path. So we have reached our 10 minutes, and it goes so quickly, so quickly. Woo! Kudos. I'm going to give myself a picture here. Ironically, I am wearing a Disney shirt today.
Don't forget to drink your water.
That's correct. Thank you, sister. That's very important. Get your water, start to wind down. If you want to take this moment while I'm being a New York City tourist and taking a picture of myself. Ooh, look at that nice bright light, like I'm coming from somewhere. I love it. And into there we go. And now I'm going to say, and I am going to post that into our chat group because that's my receipt that I've done what I'm supposed to today. And voila, it is done. All right. So I'm going to bring my computer this way and I'm going to bring us back in. Take an opportunity to start to get your breath back in order again. And we're going to go exactly the way we were in stillness a little bit. We're just going to bring a little breath here. Make sure that our wind down is successful because it's important to wind down well too. Deep breath. Start to take control of that heavy breathing. Take control of it with deep breath. Remember, you control your body, right? You tell it it's time to get it together. Ground it. All right. And welcome back to our program as we go to the next part of it. We're going to go into the path of authorship. Um, so I read a little bit from, you know, my book, The Tales of Sir Persevere. Um, Before I started writing that, I started writing a book about my restaurant, and I'm not really quite sure where this is going to go, but this is one of those projects. You have a bunch of different things. It's like a science lab with a bunch of things in it. Some are like partially thought through. Some of them are more thought through than others. Like my Tales of Sir Persevere, that's the one that has been fully fleshed out. But, I wrote a book, right? I wrote, I started to write a book, right, about how to help owners see the things that they can't see when they're going into business, right? So it's actually a book about failure, and it's a book about how to help other people not make the same mistakes that you did, right? And I haven't quite, given it the punch, but I wanted to read, the very first chapter of that with you. Um, the book is named Enough is Enough, and it starts with a note that says, um, behind every great man, there is an even greater woman, right? And the purpose of that quote is, one of the things that I deeply and greatly regret was I didn't integrate. I had a family business, and I didn't really integrate my family into that business, until closer to the end. But the foundation, when I raised the floor, right, my family was below the floor, right? Sometimes I let the chef, talk down to my wife because I wanted to make sure that I kept him happy. You know, in my own business, in my own place, right? I let my wife feel like she was a visitor sometimes. I didn't do it meanly, I didn't, I always told her she was the owner, but when you look back, was she really? You know, um, some of the employees saw my kids as a nuisance when they came to run around, or when my big boy came to eat all the tacos, right? Um, and it took that to learn the lesson that I should have been scaling and doing that with my wife from the get. So let me read chapter one. Um, if you bought this book because you were hoping to apply to yourself a story about a restaurant owner who risked it all and made it, stop reading right now. This is actually a story where only a part of this is true, but the restaurant did not make it at all. However, the experience was invaluable, and there are plenty of things that I will share about my experience and the lessons that I learned, which can help you be more successful than I was. If you were an aspiring owner or one that is currently living the dream. At the very least, if you find yourself in a situation with a failing business, which I pray that you don't, this book will help you identify when enough is enough and how to craft a successful exit strategy for yourself, including liquidating your business. This book is a source of knowledge for those looking to start up a restaurant, but many of these concepts are totally applicable to any business at any stage of its development. I will offer advice and share stories that can help you for a lifetime and help you avoid failure. Don't make the mistake of believing that you can only learn from those who lived happily ever after. Not everyone's fairy tale can be yours. However, everyone's horror story can be. If all that you are focused on is how someone succeeded and you are not seeing how the pitfalls and challenges can prevent you from emulating someone else's success. Most success stories are like when you go to the gym to get in shape. You rarely see pictures of overweight people unless there is a before and after picture, and the after is always about a remarkable result. This is certainly motivational, but what about all of the people who copied the plans of the victor only not to succeed or achieve a worse result? Wouldn't you want to hear about those failures so that you could avoid them too?
Excellent. I love the book. I love your experience and the fact that you're becoming an author and that we're gonna see this book published. For anybody that is right there, remember that the authorship path is about you becoming an author. Because everybody have the responsibility to bring their story, their ideas, their sufferings into writing. And I love this book of Victor. Um, I would love to see as we move forward on the authorship path, like a possible cover, like very easy to do because I see Dr. Sid his as his cover. I gave Rosaura the instructions of putting together all the books, and then we're gonna make a schedule where we need it have to be completed, and then the launching day have to be in this year. Hopefully, each one of these books will become a bestseller. Hopefully, when you were mentioning if you open up a restaurant, I was thinking also just to take it into consideration to the math of the statistics of in America what it means to open up a restaurant in terms of who make it, who doesn't make it, who why they fail, why doesn't fail, what is the what is the reality behind, no? I saw David Ramsey saying, okay, you're gonna open up a restaurant, but you know that 90% of the restaurant there pay because of blah 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 blah. Because also we wanna know your idea, your experience, your passions, your triumph and your failing, but also what is the reality in terms of research of that person who's gonna open a restaurant with all his or her heart, and and didn't take into considerations also what is behind, what is the real deal, who made it, why not, what happened. That can help also your reader to be more realistic somehow. But
And
just an opinion about that.
yeah, and it's interesting because one of the things that I started saying earlier was about sustainability, right? You know, part of being able to create sustainability is to understand where it is that you're failing, right? So if you don't know that you're failing, you're like someone who has no map. I spoke the other day about, what it takes to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, right? If somewhere on the East Coast you get Route 10, you go all the way to California. But the problem is that if you think you're on Route 10 and you're not on Route 10, you're not going to California, right? So it's understanding and being able to measure along the way how you're scaling.
Hmm.
Uh, Others, thoughts? Thoughts about how, how in a message of failure you can, talk about success.
I would also add the caveat of how you are successful so that they don't read it and be like, oh, he lost and he's got some lessons, but did he win in the end? So talk about your wins as well, how those lessons ended up transforming you because you want to pull that reader in a little bit more.
Hmm. Well, I think that part of the winning is going to be the exit strategy, right?
And also the story of your wife. I don't know if the story of your wife that you mentioned is gonna be the book. That could be something kind of interesting. You know, the she was the owner, but she really was the owner. Like because I was letting the chef get away with murder. Do whatever she wants, and she didn't. What was the owner? Like that's a great story for people to. How do you deal with family, and how will you deal with good or bad stuff, and who made it, and who helped you? Who are the super who's that Dr. Hardy says? The best people that are going to help you out to go to the mountain. But that story of your wife could be very interesting to have in the book. How your kids, what happened there. What was the relationship, power, business, kitchen, and her in the book. It'd be interesting.
Yes, I already like it, Victor, because I think you're sharing experiences that may not sound good, but to me they sound fantastic because we have a lot to learn from them. Experience is learning the good, is learning the not so good, and it's not giving the people what they want to hear, but the reality of it, what you felt, how you live it. This is your experience and how you live it. And I already love it. I wish you would finish the book so I could finish this story and learn from it.
Thank you. You
You're
know,
sharing wisdom.
yeah, um, we always talk about branding, right? You're saying this is a family business, but in your family business, your family is usually a bunch of guests in a corner outside of the restaurant, right? And you are the person working the restaurant with other people. So it's like they're strangers to your business. When you go to like real family restaurants, you see the kids running around in the back. You see the kids at the register going, "Can I?" Right? Everyone knows that it's a family business because they're integrated into it. At my restaurant, my family was kind of like, hey, keep it together. Like, don't make noise, don't do this, don't do that. We don't, right? And I just don't know how I let that happen, but it happened, right? So, it's the same thing. I used to go to this really great pizzeria when I used to live in Philadelphia, when I was, studying at Haverford, and I used to go there regularly all the time. The pizza was so great, And one day I stopped going because I saw the owner, so they had a pizzeria and they had a little buffet. They had all these different food options, right? And one day I walked in to get pizza and I saw the owner bringing food from somewhere else. And he sat down in plain visible sight of all the people to eat that food. And you got to understand this is a place that had a very expansive menu. So there weren't limits to the things that you could get there. And so what could he be possibly going to get somewhere else that he couldn't have from his own restaurant? And it made me question what he himself thought about the food. And these are the kinds I say that because you're branding yourself as this expansive multi-menu restaurant, but yet the owner's bringing food from somewhere else to eat. You're saying this is a family business, and the family is a guest and a stranger to the restaurant, right? And how does that apply? That applies in all of our scaling efforts, right? How we do things, how we, we sell one thing, but we give people another, right? And I think this is why Dr. Pino always stresses the importance of of how we manage what we're doing here because we don't want to be in a situation where we're disappointing people and not meeting expectations. This is a great opportunity, Dr. Pina, for you to read our different club levels as we
Of course,
conclude.
that will be my pleasure. Remember, at least one chapter of Dr. Hardy books. That's the books that we are promoting, reading in part of the thinker path. So you become a philosopher of life and a leader. So let me go to get uh, that what we want you to become member of this club from the beginning. Let me just get it right here. So I had it on. Okay, perfect. So you got a member. You can go for the foundations, build the self. We also have the ascent, rise with structure. We have the alchemy memberships, and we have the legacy membership. If you're a group, your corporations, your business, 5,000, 15,000 a year. Lead with multiply impacts, build with our lives and outlive yourself. You can start also with 999 a month, includes everything tier two. I'm gonna just go there and transform at depths alchemy. You're gonna have a team like clinicians, licensed professionals, psychoanalysts, psychotherapists, social workers, psychologists. You're gonna have psychiatric evaluations if you need to. You're gonna have a certified coach uh, and a group that will follow you through the process. Ascent is Rise with Structure, 199 a month, and includes weekly small group coaching, monthly hot seats to see where you are, performance tracking systems, and priority support. You can start easily as foundation, build the self for disciplines 99 a month, and you're gonna have the 5 a.m. Stillness and Wellness Club, the 6 a.m. and the 7 a.m. The six transformative paths that you already see. You can be part of also becoming a certified coach if you want to. Weekly Money Monday with Andy Jimenez and all the team. We build them the school community, access, and accountability system. So you don't join a group, you become someone new, and this is the 60p Stillness and Wellness Club. Victor.
Well, thank you. That's just about all the time that we have today. Um, I want to encourage you all, make sure you have the book. And I want to make sure that you take an opportunity today to read a chapter from The Art of Scaling. Um,
Let's,
and I
let's,
want to,
let's give to the Golden Boy at least a chance to share
okay,
book and read because someone out there doesn't have the maybe, and that guy who is waiting to receive it and to have also the discussions that we do, we can have a couple of minutes to be dedicated to this amazing book. We recommend this book and we're reading this book for me in my case 6 times. So whenever you're ready and rapidly Lawrence, go ahead.
Okay. Do you have it on the screen? Otherwise, do I need to
Yeah,
pull out the paperback?
let me put it on the screen. Okay, hold on. It's right there. I'm gonna keep it where we've got it. And let me just go right there. And do you see it?
Yep.
All right.
In fact, as you'll learn later in this book, if you're not scaling aggressively, you're likely dying slowly. There's no in between. Small and incremental goals, as well as overly long-term goals, are bad filters that enable bad decisions that compound over time, making it increasingly unlikely you'll scale. The longer you wait to scale, the less likely it'll happen. When someone learns the scaling framework, whether they're a company doing $1 million or $1 billion in revenue, fear often kicks in. Unlike Mark, there are typically a lag of application. It takes a paradigm upgrade to realize that and appreciate that what you're currently doing isn't scalable. If you keep doing what you're doing, stagnation is the best scenario. Yet once a person begins applying the framework, they immediately start scaling, and so will you. Another friend who read an advanced copy of this book, A Billionaire and Legend in Private Equity, who's been part of hundreds of scaling processes, told us that this book changed his mind on something. Before reading this book, he didn't think scaling was a possibility for most people in most businesses, particularly large enterprises. Yet, in his own words, the paradigm shift this book offers, if fully embraced, can enable any size company to scale, big or small. The insight that with the right paradigm or frame, anyone can be a visionary leader and scaler surprised him and gave him hope. He also stated that this book defines how the best CEOs operate and shows how to be at the extreme tail of the bell curve. While all forces push a leader and a company to the mean and security, if a company applies the framework in this book, they'll be at the extreme tail in outcomes and impact. He noted that while reading the book, he reached out multiple times to his family office, which manages multiple billions, and the byproduct was them resimplifying their focus by making key shifts out of investments in sectors that don't align. Most who speak of scaling do so tactically. Conversely, this book will reframe your psychology and strategy. Before you finish reading this book, you'll experience a paradigm shift so profound that it'll change how you see everything. You realize you've been playing small and operating literally out of fear. You've been below your floor. It'll be emboldened to set an impossible goal, and you quickly see the power of using that goal to filter everything inside and outside of your business. You'll increase your honesty and rigor, removing many things you've been justifying, but no longer can. What once slowed you down will stop existing. Your path will become clearer and more distinct. Your progress in learning will 10x or more. You'll identify and laser in on crucial insights and innovations no one else is looking for. You'll find and work with only the best of the best, those who produce 100x to 10,000x the results of the average employee or partner. Before you finish reading this book, you'll see everything different. You even see how Kennedy could have gotten likely a man on the moon in 3 years, not 7.
Perfect. Victor?
Are there any comments, about, about scaling, the pace of scaling, or the purpose of scaling?
Well, Victor, one main thing that I see there is that we have to have a switch, a change in mindset. We got to be willing to accept change, to embrace it, and to do things differently. And that's the beginning of it. The change in paradigm, change in mindset.
100% right. Because one of the worst ways to try to scale, and I emphasize try, is by trying to do the same old thing and expecting different results, right? To be cliche, the mere definition of insanity. Another comment or two?
Um, Good morning.
Good morning.
This is good idea to reading again and calm, and we absorb more the really the meaning to the book, and really we can change the difficulty the we have in any situation. Um, I will do it like Mr. Dr. Pina. That he say that he reading like 3 times and do it again and really um, motivated, enthusiastic, passion that he have in everything in his life. Um, I will copy him this reading this book to incorporate it in my life because we have a lot of belief um, and it changed um, my mind or change our mind. It's really a good opportunity for become a really excellent human being. And thank you for putting back and we reading again.
Well, that's an excellent place to close, acknowledging that scaling is not just about, growing in the area of finances, right? But that there are so many different places that you can scale. Scaling is a fundamental part of everyone's growth and in many areas of your life. And, you know, what you scale for has to start with that big, hairy, ambitious goal. So go draft those BHAGs and go dream today and go have a wonderful day and make sure that everything that you do, don't spend 1 second doing something that is not about your true purpose. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Victor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Have
Thank
a
you,
great
Victor.
day. God bless you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.